Now, something I wanted to touch on in this video was also Ty Washington, tight end from Arkansas. We've been talking a lot about the wide receivers in this offseason. Who exactly is going to step up? Is it going to be Jaden Greathouse? Is it going to be one of the transfers, Malachi Fields, who we will not see in the spring, or Will Pauling, who comes over from Wisconsin? Or is it also somebody else that we have on the roster? Well, we'll see what the wide receiving room looks like as spring goes on and as the quarterback battle kind of figures itself out, or however much it could potentially figure itself out. But one thing that we do know for sure, no matter what happens with the quarterbacks and what happens with the wide receivers, we needed depth at the tight end position. Both guys will not, well, both players who are in the lead right now for the starting tight end position outside of Ty Washington aren't going to be in spring. One transferring in, the other is injured. So obviously he's not going to be participating in spring practice. Ty Washington comes over from Arkansas. He was there for 3 seasons, redshirted in 2022, and then obviously had his redshirt freshman year. That was probably his best season. As a redshirt sophomore last season, he was dismissed from the team. He cited issues with health with his grandmother, so it kind of was clouding his judgment during one of the games that they had. And after that game, he was dismissed from the team. But supposedly everything has been figured out, kind of talked through, and Notre Dame's coaching staff is kind of on the same page with how he wants to conduct himself this upcoming season. And he's looking for that breakout year to build off of what he did in his first season. Now, as I mentioned, Notre Dame's tight end room is going to kind of look for some more depth. Eli Raridan is slotted to be that number 1 guy in the room. If he's healthy, that is his main issue. He began his career with the Irish, tearing his ACL twice in 10 months. So seeing him on the field and consistently in 2024 was promising, but we're still looking for somebody who can be potentially more reliable. There are certain positions on this Notre Dame roster that have players that haven't taken a ton of snaps. This is one of them, but I would say it's more so it can be a very deep room. It's just one of those things where it's like, how much can you rely on each of those players? I think that is super interesting to watch. But let's break down Ty Washington now that we've gotten all of that aside and his background. He's 6'4", 250 pounds, and he's a great threat downfield in the passing game, something that we didn't really have as much last season, as much as we would have wanted with Riley Leonard. Ty Washington could hopefully bring that to the tight end position as well. He over 3 seasons for Arkansas, he participated in 21 games and had 14 receptions for 212 yards and 4 touchdowns. His most productive period, as I mentioned, was when he was a redshirt freshman in the year 2023, where he had 11 catches, 170 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Now, I think he can add some depth. I don't know if he's going to beat out Eli for that number 1 tight end position, but I definitely think he's got the talent to be able to do so. I definitely think that last year was a bit of an aberration for him as a player, with everything personally going on, as well as getting dismissed from the team and only being able to register 3 catches on the season. But, you know, that's just my own outsider opinion. We'll see exactly how much he participates in spring ball. Obviously, it's going to be something that is watched closely by the coaching staff to be able to compare some of these guys. Can he be that reliable number 2 tight end on this squad? We obviously know that this team runs a lot of sets with 2 tight ends, and that is not a position that is just not used for Notre Dame. Tight end university, and hopefully Ty Washington can be that kind of player who ends up filling the shoes of some of the great tight ends that have come before him and can help out in the passing game in that way. He's got good ability to make plays in space, stretch the field vertically, and has good run after the catch potential. So all of these things make him a very dynamic player, and it's kind of why I've picked him as one of the players that I've wanted to talk about today. I definitely think he needs some work with his run blocking, but that is something that other tight ends for Notre Dame will also have to work on in the offseason. I think that's just a general problem with this tight end room, and not something that I think would potentially disqualify him from being the number 2 tight end on this roster, or being the number 1 tight end on this roster, because I do think it's a pretty open race considering the injuries and the lack of snap count. Him coming in, having 3 years under his belt of college football experience, I think will certainly help. He's going to be a strong runner who can make defenders miss after making a catch in traffic. He had a catch, now I wanted to highlight this, against Ole Miss, where he was able to kind of truck some of the players, and I think that's the play that we saw the most potential from him from last season. I'm very excited to see what Ty Washington can do for this offense, and he's definitely a player to look out for.